All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to our scholarships and financial aid live stream. We are so excited to welcome you to our session here tonight. Thank you for coming. I am Marissa and I'm an enrollment advisor here at Trent University. I will also be the moderator for this session. With me today, I have an incredible panel that will be talking to you about everything from our scholarships, bursaries at Trent, preparing and applying for OSAP, government funding programs, and lots more. With me today is Danielle Aspen. She's our affordability coordinator here at Trent University. With us today, how tonight's going to go is that we will have a presentation from Danielle. It'll take most of our time, but we will also have the floor open to questions, and you'll have all of your questions answered if they weren't already answered during the presentation. And with that, I will stop myself and I will give the floor over to Danielle to start us off with the presentation.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. So I will just go ahead and jump into my presentation because it does take up most of the hour, but we will be able to answer questions. So let's go ahead and get everything started. So everybody should be able to see my screen, the Funding Your Education Financial Aid. So the agenda tonight is just to kind of chat about what is financial aid, how much does university cost, how you can afford that through scholarships, OSAP, bursaries, and other resources. I do have it noted there that this presentation is for domestic undergraduate students. So unfortunately, if you're an international student and you're tuning in, I just don't have that information. That scholarship bursary program is administered through our international office. So I know Marissa can go ahead and pop that information into the chat if you guys are international students looking for that information. It is noted there that for questions, we will have time at the end. So we're going to try and get through the presentation first. If I didn't answer anything, we'll go through the Q&A at the end. I'll try and leave about 10, 15 minutes for us to chat. So who are we? We are your money ladies on campus. That's kind of how we're referred to. So the financial aid office is who you would talk to about scholarships and about bursaries. We also administer the OSAP program, so the big government-funded student aid program. We also have a hand in work study programs. So if you haven't heard about those before, we have jobs reserved on campus for students who are in receipt of OSAP. So these jobs are a wonderful opportunity for students. They're spread out all through both campuses, Peterborough and Oshawa. The benefit to these jobs are that you're getting hands-on experience. So you're working right in an office. The example I like to use is if, let's say you're a chemistry major and you get a job in one of our chemistry departments, then you're getting hands-on experience, you're networking. It's 10 hours a week, $2,000. But the other bonus to these kind of positions is the flexibility. So with it being 10 hours a week, you may need to adjust your schedule slightly and do 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, as long as the hours are being met. You're happy, we're happy. So it's a wonderful program that we have here at Trent. If you're interested in these kinds of postings, they typically go up the term before. So right now we're looking for winter. We start looking for fall students during the summer, and it's all done through our careers office. So keep an eye open for some of those positions, and they will specify that you have to be in receipt of OSAP for these ones, but there are ones outside of that program as well. So how much does it cost to come to Trent? So these are the big scary numbers that we like to give you, but then we want to help you pay them down as well. So what you want to do is understand the cost so that you're better prepared. The tuition is $6,100. That's for our undergraduate programs. That's just the tuition portion, sorry. And then you have your fees on top of that. It's about $1,500. So this is based off of our fees here at the Peterborough campus. And that would include things like your campus card, your health benefits, your bus pass, all of those kind of are incorporated in those fees costs. You want to also estimate for books and supplies. So we put in $1,300 if you're a full-time student. That's 10 classes. 1,300 could be a little low depending on what program you're going into, but you still want to put a number in there for your budget so that you can plan ahead for that. The biggest expense for going to school is actually going to be your living. So where are you choosing to live? We estimate $4,200 if you're choosing to live at home during your 8-month study period. That would be about $400 a month. Now you know that you're going to be spending money. So even if you're living at home, don't think that you're not going to be having expenses, whether it's gas, groceries, cell phone bill. You want to be realistic with yourself and put an estimate in there for your budget. If you are opting to move away from home, we estimated $14,000, and that tends to be on the high end of the residence costs. So you want to put that into consideration when you are looking at residence. How much is it? Do you want to have a single premium room, or maybe you're okay having a roommate or two, or living annex style? So you want to put that into the budget, and you can see that it can range from 13,000 up to about 23,000. Some ways to save on the right there. You can see the rent residence costs. You want to take a look at that and be flexible with yourself. Buying used books is a great option. If you can find your books on eBay or through a Facebook Marketplace or through the Student Association, you can save a little bit of money there. And we also have it noted preparing food and coffee at home. It's wonderful to eat out and have coffee out all the time. But if you have other expenses that you have to consider, you might want to pull back on some of that and prep some of that food and coffee at home. And then definitely you want to chat with the financial aid office. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at some resources to bring that total down. So right now, this is the timetable that we use in the financial aid office. You're going to be creating your OUAC profiles. So when you're doing that and getting ready to apply to the colleges and universities, you'll see an option there to connect to OSAP. The OSAP application for September doesn't actually open until May, but when you're using the college and university application centers, you can actually go and jumpstart an OSAP application and create that profile. And you'll see that later on in my presentation. From January to April is prestigious scholarship applications. So that'll be opening up soon for us in January. We then have our scholarship offers that go out to students from March all the way through to August. As we get final grades from the high schools and from the colleges, we can go ahead and send out our scholarship offers. Then we have an entrance bursary, which is offered to students only on their entrance year, and that opens in June and closes the end of July. July and August, you're going to be working, you're going to have a summer job, the work study program, you're going to look at that and you're going to start saving some money. And then when you're here in class, September and January and summer, if you choose to study, we have in-course bursary applications. So all of these options is to try and fund as much of your education as possible with money that you don't have to pay back, with the exception of OSAP with that combination of loans and grants, but you want to touch on all of these scholarship and bursary opportunities. So the very first thing we'll talk about is Trent's Renewable Scholarship Program. So there's no application required. Students are automatically considered for entrance scholarships, and it's based off of your admission average here at Trent. So if you're coming straight from high school, we're going to use those top 6 4U 4M level courses. Our scholarships are renewable for up to 4 years of undergraduate studies. So that means you have an opportunity to renew your scholarship for up to 4 years of your studies. In order to do that, you have to complete 5 Trent credits over the academic year with a minimum average of 80%. So if you come into Trent with a 90 average, that's 2,500, but we don't want you to, we want you to, but we don't expect you to have to achieve that 90 to renew your scholarship. You just have to hit the 80 mark and your scholarship will automatically renew for the following year. So you don't have to do any applications or anything. Just make sure that you are academically achieving that 80%. Our prestigious scholarships are application based, and that's because we only award out 13 of them and they're higher valued. So these scholarships are renewable as well. They are based off of more than just your grades, though. So this is when we start to look at your extracurricular activities, your volunteer experience. All of that would go into the application that opens through the My Trent portal at the beginning of January. It does close April 1st, and all of those applications are presented to a committee for selection. So you can see the Champlain there is $5,000 renewable for up to those 4 years of undergraduate studies, all the way down to $3,750. So remember, to apply for these, you do not have to have accepted your offer to apply for these prestigious scholarships, and they're only offered on that entrance year. So you don't get another opportunity to apply for these. If you do select Trent in your second or third year, you will not have an option to apply for these, only on that entrance year. Our bursary program. So bursary scholarships is money based off of your academics. Bursary funding is based off of financial needs. So this is money that's given to you from the school that you don't have to pay back, just like a scholarship. You don't have to pay that back. Bursaries are awarded based off of financial need, and you must be in receipt of OSAP or comparable government student assistance. So out of province funding or band funding. And you have to complete an application to be considered for a bursary. So it's not automatic like our scholarships are. The first opportunity is our entrance bursaries. So entrance meaning it's only offered on that first year. So you have to be new to Trent. You would apply during the summer. So June and July. The application will open the beginning of June. It closes the end of July. We have a few different entrance bursaries there. So we have our general entrance bursary. We also have our athletic entrance bursary. You can apply for both of those as well and possibly get both of those. And new to us is our Joyce Family Foundation entrance bursary. So this is awarded to 4 students and it's $5,000 each. So those other two range from $500 to $1,000, but the Joyce Family one is $5,000. So follows the same timeline, opens in opens in June and closes the end of July. So definitely take a look at those opportunities. And like I mentioned, you don't have to have accepted your offer to apply, but you will have to have accepted your offer to receive it. So in order to actually have it applied to your student account. When you are here at Trent, you are eligible to apply for our in-course bursaries. So our in-course bursary application opens within the first week of studies each term. So fall, winter, and summer if you choose to study. And they range anywhere from $100 up to $1,500. You don't have to know any of our bursaries. You don't have to specify a bursary to be considered for. It's welcome. So if you know one that Trent does have that you want to be considered for, you can put it in there, but it's not expected. We will match you up to a bursary that best fits you based on your application. If you are coming to us from one of our local high schools here in the city of Peterborough, we do have the City of Peterborough Award. It's awarded to the top 2 students coming from each Peterborough high school. And that application also opens in June, closes the end of July, and it's $2,000. And this again is only offered on that entrance year. So if you are coming to us from Kenner, Crestwood, Tass, and you want to be considered for this, it's only on that entrance year. I do advise you though, even though if you think you're not going to be eligible for these, apply. What happens is a lot of students think that they're not going to be eligible and then they don't apply and they find out later that they could have received something. So it is better for us to tell you no than for you to assume it's a no. These applications only take maybe 3-4 minutes to do, and you could get a lot of free money from Trent. The last bursary on the screen is the first generation and Indigenous students bursaries. This is funding that is given to us from the ministry to go ahead and award out to students. So each year we get that funding. So the bursary value actually can change depending on how much funding we do get. The last year it was about $250 for each student that applied. So if you are a first generation or an Indigenous student, definitely look for this bursary application. We open it up in January. Oops. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll chat about OSAP briefly. I don't go into everything about OSAP just because it is one of those programs that there is a lot of information in it. What I do try and highlight is just a few little key points there so that when a student is applying, it kind of looks a little bit familiar to them. So OSAP, if you're not familiar with the program, it is the government student assistance program for Ontario residents. The amount of funding does change. There's a lot of different variables that go into it. And the OSAP program is ever evolving. So each year it changes a little bit. So last year to this year is different. It's never stayed the same in the years that I've been doing it. It's ever evolving. It is a combination of loans and grants from both the federal and provincial government. The loan portion is the money that you do have to pay back, but the grants is the portion that's free, that free money. So it's the funding you get to keep that you don't have to pay back as long as you meet all of the requirements for OSAP. So you file your taxes, your parents file their taxes, you pass your classes and you stay in good standing, then the grants would stay grants and you would only need to repay the loan portion. On the left side of the screen, you're seeing the aid estimator. So you can actually go over to ontario.ca/OSAP and you can play with the aid estimator to kind of get a general idea of what funding would look like. Just take it with a grain of salt because it's not the full OSAP application. It's just a little snippet of it. So it's not always accurate. The best way to know what you would actually be considered for in regards to OSAP is to complete the full OSAP application. Once you do that, that information transmits into a financial aid office and we can troubleshoot it for you. So if you did an aid estimator and it came back with a low estimate and you had questions for us, we can't actually troubleshoot it for you because we don't see that information. But if you did a full OSAP application and got a low estimate, then you can definitely reach out to us and we'd be able to see the application to better explain it to you or understand why the assessment is the way that it is. So go ahead, check it out. But I would encourage you to do the OSAP application when it opens in May of 2024. The new user registration. So when you are applying to college and university, like I mentioned, you will see a link there that will take you over to Jumpstart an OSAP application. What it does is it takes all of that information you've put into those application centers and it pulls it into OSAP for you, essentially jumpstarting it. So taking your name, your date of birth, all the schools you've applied to, as well as all of the programs, and it pulls that information into OSAP. If you do that, you'll then get a notice in May when the application opens in its entirety, asking you to go in and complete your OSAP application. So you'll essentially have completed step 1 of the OSAP application. If you choose not to do that link, it's okay. You can apply to OSAP directly through OSAP's website. You would just register as a new user. The application itself is only 4 sections. You can see at the top, it says it takes about 15 minutes to complete. I'm going to ask you not to race it. So it's not like your little GPS where it says you can get someplace in 47 minutes and you go, I can get there in 45. And we all do it. We all try and race that little thing. But with this, don't try and rush through the OSAP application. Take your time, especially for new users of the OSAP application. There's going to be a lot of information that you may not be familiar with. We don't want you to rush through it because if you make any mistakes and you submit it, it could require documentation that has to come in order for corrections to be made. So please take your time. Step 1 is the school and program. So if you have done the OUAC OCAS link, you've essentially completed step 1. All of that information will transmit into the OSAP application for you. Step 2 is all about you. So it should be fairly easy for you to complete the OSAP application section 2 because it's all about you. So who knows you best than you? Some of the sample questions down at the bottom is when did you last attend high school? Do you want to identify as a student with a disability? What's your savings, your current status? Where will you be living? All of that lives under section 2. Section 3 is the family section. It's actually, I would say that's the most difficult section of the OSAP application. So when you do get to that section, you would need your parents' information. Any students coming directly from high school, so any students that are less than 6 years out of high school, are actually still considered a dependent and would need parental information, and it would all go into section 3. So that's when they ask questions, your parents' marital status, where do they live, what their income is, how many children do they have, all of that would live under section 3. There are hyperlinks all the way through the OSAP application as well, like you can see on the screen here where it says more information that you can click on, and a little pop-up will give you more information in regards to the question. If you're ever unsure, save the OSAP application. You can save it at any point, and you can call a financial aid office and ask us questions, and we can help you navigate through some of those questions that are causing you confusion. Step 4 is the review and submit. So you can do a whole OSAP application, click submit, and let it run its process, and then it would kick out any required documentation. So this is what it looks like as you progress through. So step 1, you can see the check marks all the way through. Step 4 is where we're at. So before you submit the OSAP application, you want to go back and make sure that you've answered all the questions correctly. You've spelled names correctly. Date of birth is a big one. So if you have one of those birthdays that's, like August 7th, where the day and the month can be inverted, you want to make sure that you've entered that correctly. You want to make sure any SIN numbers, any income numbers are correct. Do not put decimals onto an OSAP application. OSAP does not like decimals. So if they ask you an income question, just round up to the next dollar. Don't put a decimal. But make sure all of that information is correct, because any mistakes, once you click submit, all that information comes into our office. So if you did misspell your parent's name or the date of birth is incorrect, we would then require documentation to make those changes through our office. So that's why it's very important to review all of those sections before you click submit. Once you click submit, documentation will pop up. So the OSAP application will take a couple days to run its process and get you an assessment, but it will pop up the required documentation. For new users to OSAP, the most common documentation is the signature pages for the student and for the parents. Good news is you only have to do them one time, and they're PDFs. So you're sitting at home, you can go ahead and save them, sign them, and upload them right back into OSAP. So you don't even have to leave your desk. As I mentioned, they are only one time unless you switch institutions. So that's a good thing. You only have to do it once if you're here for your 4 years of undergraduate studies. The second thing is the Master Student Financial Assistance Agreement. This is your bank information. So you'll be creating an account with National Student Loans, which is like OSAP's bank. So they're the agency that will deposit your OSAP funding, but they're also the agency that you'll start to repay when you go into repayment with OSAP. So you'll be creating an account with them so that you can actually monitor your loans and grants through them and your OSAP application. So once it's run its assessment, you'll get something that looks like this. This is for a current student here at Trent, and this is their estimated funding for the 23-24 year. You can see the student was estimated to receive $16,788. $6,700 of that is grants, and $10,000 of that is loan. So the grant portion is the free money that the student will get to keep as long as they pass their classes, file their taxes, parents file taxes, and they stay in good standing. The grant portion is free. The loan portion is what would need to be repaid. So they would have to repay $10,000 back. That would be part of their total debt due. But let's say that the student worked really hard. They got a prestigious scholarship. They got a couple bursaries, and they don't actually need that loan money. They can put that loan on hold for this academic year. So then only the grant portion would be released out to them, and the loan portion would remain on hold for the academic year until about March. But if the student starts to experience hardship, let's say in November, December, January, and they actually need that loan money, they can log into their OSAP and they can reverse that decision. So you can see where it says you don't want to take the loan, here how this option works. They would click on that to either opt in or opt out of the loan. Okay. 3 main points there at the bottom is 60% of the funding is released in the fall and 40% in the winter. So yes, the student is getting 16,000. However, they don't get that all in one lump sum. So they would get the majority in the fall and the remaining 40% in the winter. So coming up here in January for our current students, actually. The second point there is funds are automatically released to the school first. So if you have a balance due for your fall fees, Trent would be paid first, and then any difference would go into the student's bank account to be used for their living expenses and books and such for that term. The very last point there is you are responsible to ensure that your school fees are paid in full. So what that means is you're going to be checking your student account here at Trent. So you'd log into your My Trent portal and check your statement of account to see, was my fees paid for the fall term? If not, and I'm expecting OSAP, where's my OSAP funding? So then you're going to go and log into your OSAP account and check and see what the status of your OSAP is. Was it released? If it was, awesome. Is it on its way? If not, am I missing some documentation? Am I not registered in enough courses? So what is holding up my OSAP funding? But you're responsible to ensure that your school fees do get paid in their entirety. If you are receiving OSAP, you do get an extended deadline each term for your funding to make it here. So our student accounts office has an OSAP student specific payment deadline to allow some time for that OSAP funding to flow through to your student account. So you get that extended time. Some five main points here about OSAP that we want to make sure that you know about is, like I mentioned, that 60-40 split for the OSAP funding. So you want to make sure you're budgeting accordingly. There are other screens through the OSAP that will show you exactly how much is to be released to you each term. And then when the school does confirm your enrollment, how much is coming to us. So I just don't show those screens, but there are additional funding screens for you to check out. The second point there is any changes to your course load or income, anything like that must be reported to OSAP. So if you originally said you were studying 5 classes each term at 100%, but now you're dropping some classes, you would need to do an OSAP change form through our My Trent portal to let us know. So you want to keep that OSAP application up to date. That includes if you move. So if you said you were living at home and now you're living away, that would be a change to your OSAP. If parents lost their job, if you needed to withdraw, all of that, you definitely want to be in contact with the financial aid office so we can take a look at the OSAP and update accordingly. Point number 3 is you must apply for OSAP every year. So that means each year you want to be considered for OSAP, you would apply the summer before. So typically the application opens the end of April, early May. So you would just log on at that point to do a new OSAP application. If you opt to not take OSAP one year, but you did take it in a previous year and you incurred some debt, you still need to go ahead and apply for OSAP, but you're not using the OSAP application. You'd be applying for interest-free status, meaning I'm still studying full-time, but I don't need the OSAP, but I still want to remain payment-free and interest-free. Then you would be applying for the interest-free status. Point number 4 there down at the bottom is for full-time OSAP, you must always be in at least 1.5 credits per term unless you are a student with a registered permanent disability on OSAP. The minimum requirement is 1.5 credits per term. That's a 60% course load. That's 3 classes per term. The last point is you do not need to report your Trent scholarship. So if you are fortunate enough to get one of our scholarships, whether it's our entrance scholarship or prestigious, you don't need to report that to OSAP under award income. Trent automatically does that for you. The award income question would be for any external awards or scholarships that you're receiving. That's what you would be indicating there on the OSAP application. We've given scholarships, we've chatted about scholarships here at Trent, bursaries here at Trent, the OSAP application, but there are other opportunities outside of the school and outside of OSAP. The very first one there on the screen is an RESP. So if you're fortunate enough to have a registered education savings plan, now is the time to chat with your parents to understand how much is in there, how are you going to allocate it over your studies. Maybe if you're choosing to stay on campus in that first year, you want to pull a little bit more out to help cover that cost of residence because OSAP will not cover the cost of residence. But now is the time to have those conversations. You can see a summer job, a great opportunity. It's free money. You don't have to pay it back. And the harder you hustle now with the summer job, hopefully you don't have to work as hard during the school year so you can actually focus on your academics rather than stressing about having to get to work all the time. So hustle now when you're not in class and get all those savings so that you don't have to when you are here in class. Scholartree, Scholarships Canada, Wyconic, Grant Me, and disabilityawards.ca. You hear that there is money outside of the schools that goes unclaimed. That's these websites. So they've actually databases that you can go you can create a profile and start applying for all of these opportunities. So there are a bunch of businesses and companies and such that do want to give money to post-secondary students. You go here and you start applying. You can get as many of them as possible. So just apply for everything, even if you're not academically strong. So maybe you don't have the highest average, there are other opportunities through these sites for you. So maybe you can write a really great essay, or you're creative and you can write poems. There is something on these sites for you. So just apply for everything. The last one there, higheredpoints.com. Higher Ed Points is a newer one. Trent does participate in this. So what it does is you can convert Aeroplan points into tuition dollars. So each school, it works a little bit different. So if you are entertaining Trent, take a look at higheredpoints.com, and maybe you have an aunt, uncle, grandparent, somebody who wants to help you out, but they have Aeroplan points. This would be a great way for them to help you out and convert those into tuition dollars. Your guidance department, always a wonderful resource. So if you're still in high school, go chat with them. They know of local opportunities. They also know of opportunities through the school board. Because you are graduating, there are opportunities for you through the school board. So make sure you're applying for all of those. The Career Center. You may not be interested in getting a job right away when you get into post-secondary, but definitely know where the Career Center lives. They know of opportunities on and off campus. They can also help you write a really great cover letter. They can help you with your resume. They're a wonderful resource for you, interview skills, all of that. So know where they live so that you can tap into that resource. The Hands with the Money is one of my favorite ones. That's gifts and contributions. So you kind of want to have that chat with your parents right now. You're getting ready, you're creating that budget. You know the big scary numbers we gave to you. Now you're trying to figure out how to fund that. So you want to chat with your parents now. Are they going to give you an allowance? Are they going to pay your tuition? Maybe they're going to help you out with gas and groceries. That's what you're trying to plan ahead for. You and your parents. You're maybe have a birthday, Christmas is around the corner, graduation, gift cards. Gift cards are fantastic. If you're going to be living on campus, gift cards for groceries in Walmart, or are you commuting? Gas gift cards are fantastic. Bookstore gift cards. All of these are great ways to bring that big scary number down for you when you are studying in September. So definitely have those conversations now. You don't want to find yourself struggling in October, November, December, and now having to scramble to fund that big scary number. So you want to have those conversations early. The very last one there is the student line of credit. A student line of credit, we don't always encourage this. It's kind of a last option for us. So a student line of credit is taking on a student loan through a bank. If this is something that you want to consider, we always ask a student, did you try OSAP first? A student line of credit, you have to pretty much start paying back right away. With OSAP, you don't start making payments on your loans until 6 months after you cease to be a full-time student. Student line of credit, you start to incur interest right away on that. Interest does not start occurring on your OSAP loan until 6 months, until the end of your study period. So each year, but it is wiped out as long as you stay in school. You are interest-free and payment-free. A student line of credit, if you have to, make sure that you shop around. Don't feel pressure to take it from the first bank that you go to. Go to the different banks, understand the rates. A student line of credit also requires a co-signer. So if you, you'll need mom, dad, aunt, uncle, or somebody to co-sign that loan for you. If you opt to not repay it, it now becomes part of their debt and they're responsible for it, which is not the case with OSAP. OSAP is a student's debt and a student's debt alone. So we try not to encourage students to do it, but it is an option if they do need to do it. But definitely try the OSAP application first. So be mindful of it. Be very aware. Ask all the right questions before you sign on that dotted line for a student line of credit. So that's all of the other resources outside of the school that you consider. If you are struggling here at Trent to make your payments, we do now have payment plans that are done through our campus office. So you can see the options there. You can email campuspayments@trentu.ca when you do get that first bill here in August of 2024 to arrange any payment plans. So one of the last screens here is how to prepare. So you're doing it now. You're sitting here, you're listening to me on this Thursday evening chat about financial aid, but you want to plan ahead. You want to create that financial plan now. You can use the OSAP aid estimator, but just remember, it's not designed to cover all of your expenses. OSAP's designed to supplement educational costs. So they do expect you to come with some savings as well. So create that budget. Maybe get a budget app on your phone. Take a look at what your expenses are. How are you spending your money? How can I save? Take a look at all of those external opportunities, all of those awards and scholarship databases, Scholarships Canada, Wyconic, Scholartree. Look at all of those. Apply for everything. Just remember, you don't have to have accepted your offer to apply to whatever is being offered out as an entrance student. You just have to make sure that you are a Trent student if you do get one of those. So just apply for everything. Be aware of how you're spending. Are you spending a lot? Are you going to Starbucks all the time? Are you, as wonderful as it is to treat yourself, but if you have that big bill coming up, you might want to only go to Starbucks once a week and save some money and tuck that away for that big expense. Remember to visit the financial aid office. Come chat with us. We do not want you sitting in class stressed out about money when you can come chat with us and there might be an opportunity for us to get you some money. Maybe your scholarship wasn't applied. Maybe there's a bursary that's open at that time, but definitely come find us. We're sitting over in Blackburn Hall. We also visit the Trent Durham campus twice a week. So we're available. You can email us and call us as well. The last screen here is our contact information. So if you do have questions, you can definitely reach out to us. You can give us a call at the phone number there on the screen. You can email us at financialaid@trentu.ca. You're welcome to pop in and visit us. I mentioned at the Peterborough campus, we're in Blackburn Hall inside the registrar's office. And at Trent Durham, we are tucked in the back in A111.2, I believe. But we are there 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that's the presentation. I think I did pretty good, 40 minutes. So not too bad. That leaves us a lot of time for questions. So I'll just stop sharing my screen and we'll go into the Q&A. Let's see, stop. All right, so let's go into the Q&A. So the very first question that I have here is, how does the prestigious scholarship application work? So the application itself is quite easy. You don't need to do any reference letters. You're going to have a couple opportunities to talk about your community involvement, your volunteer hours, personal statement. The application will open within the first week of January. So it should be up by the 8th of January and it'll close April 1st. Those are then presented to a committee to make those selections. So what you want to focus on is, let's say, for example, you want to be considered for the Board of Governors. It's a leadership one. If that's the main one that you're focused on, you want to make sure you're talking about all of your leadership. It's your opportunity to brag about yourself. So do not undersell yourself when it comes to these scholarship applications. If you volunteer, the example I like to use is, I volunteer at a nursing home. Well, if somebody writes that into a scholarship application, it doesn't exactly tell us very much, right? Just that you volunteer somewhere. Tell us more. Tell us about your responsibilities. Tell us about the leadership that you take in that role. So just make sure that you elaborate and tell us everything that makes you wonderful, because the committee is not going to call you for any further information. So you're trying to make sure that your scholarship answer or your scholarship application stands out next to the other ones that are being presented to the committee. Next question is, are the entrance scholarships based on your top 6 4U 4M or the top 6 UM classes that are required for admission? So we use your top 6 4U 4M level classes. Our admissions team will do that calculation and provide that information into our system, which we then will use for your scholarship consideration. So if you have any questions about the actual admission average, you can chat with our admissions team, and their email is admissions@trentu.ca. The next question is, do I have to apply to bursaries individually, or is it a one-time application and you are automatically entered? So that is a great question, because each school works a little bit differently. So some schools will actually have you apply for every bursary that they have individually. Our general bursary application, when you use that one, you are considered for one of our bursaries in that program. So we have between 300 and 400 in there. We will figure out how much bursary funding you're eligible for, and then we match you to one of those 300 to 400 bursaries that we have. Some of the individual applications are because they are unique bursary opportunities. So like the entrance bursary is its own application because it's only that bursary, and the same with the Joyce Family Foundation. So if we do have opportunities that are very specific, they will have their own bursary application because you're only being considered for that. But yeah, you don't have to apply individually unless that application is separate. What disabilities are eligible for self-identification on OSAP? So another great question. If you choose, thank you, Marissa. I see you popped that email address in there for me. OSAP, if you want to be considered as a student with a disability on the OSAP application, you would indicate that in the profile section of your OSAP. When you do that, the OSAP application will kick out a disability verification form. So this form is what you would then take to your doctor to be completed. Again, this only has to be completed once if it comes back as a permanent or persistent prolonged. The DVF is then uploaded into your OSAP and your OSAP would be updated. So there is a list of different criteria on that disability verification form. If you are curious about it, we do have a blank one. It's posted on our web page. So Trent, let's see, everyone. I'll go type that one in trentu.ca/student finances. If you go to trentu.ca/student finances and you click on the OSAP tab and then go to OSAP forms, you would see the disability verification form so that you can get a general idea of what it's looking for. The next question is, I heard OSAP grants can turn to loan. Is this true? Yes, it is true. So the grant portion can actually be converted into loan if you don't meet OSAP's requirements. So you must file your income taxes in order for those grants to remain grants. You and your parents, you have to file your income taxes. You have to pass a minimum course load with OSAP. So you're taking on debt with them and they're giving you some free money. So they do have requirements that you have to meet. You must pass at least 1.5 credits per term that you are in receipt of OSAP. If you aren't meeting the requirements to have the grants remain grants, OSAP does give you a bunch of warnings before they do the grant to loan conversion. So they will tell you, hey, we just want to let you know that your grants could be converted, and they'll give you information as to what you're not meeting so that you can prevent that from happening. The next question is, are there interest rates to pay for the loans? Yes. So national student loans, they work like OSAP's bank. They would be in communication with you in regards to your loan and what the interest rate would be. And they'll also have the information for the pay period. So they would be the agency that you work with in regards to payment options when you get to that point. Let's see. Sorry, will you send out the presentation? This presentation is not going to be sent out. However, it is recorded. So Marissa can actually answer that for you. Maybe she can pop on here for a second.
Yep, absolutely. So all of the presentations that we are doing our live series for are being recorded, so you don't have to be furiously writing down all this information. And I will put in the chat the link for you to check out this one after the fact, as well as any of the other ones that are happening within the next couple of weeks. If you can't make one, you have prior commitments, those are really fantastic to go to if you miss one or just want to review all the information. I'll pop that into the chat.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Next question is there a limit to the amount of prestigious scholarships you can receive? Yes. So if you get a prestigious scholarship, you can only get one. So if you're fortunate enough and you get the Champlain, you would only get the Champlain. You cannot get a prestigious and an entrance. It's one or the others, but make sure you apply. because you're automatically considered for an entrance. So you could get an offer for an entrance, but you've applied for a prestigious. The prestigious trumps the entrance, but you can only get one of those. Are scholarships, bursaries, and awards considered taxable income? Scholarships, yes, because there's no financial need component there. So that is considered income. Bursaries, there's a financial need component. So no, they are not considered taxable income. Some awards can be yes, because of if they don't have a financial need component, and you would get something issued from our student accounts office if it does have to be reported to income taxes. Is there a limit to how many scholarships a person can receive? Yes. We can only offer you one entrance scholarship. However, you can get as many external opportunities as possible. Some of our departments have their own departmental scholarships, so you might be eligible for something through them. But from our office, only one scholarship, but you can get a one from our office and a departmental and an external. So you do have other options there. Is there any graduate school students? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I can tell you that graduate students can apply for OSAP, so you are eligible for that. Our grad studies office does have their own scholarship and bursary programs. So if you have questions about that, I would definitely reach out to them. I believe their email is graduate@trentu.ca, but Marissa might have that handy to pop into the chat for you. Next question. How do scholarship qualification considerations work for someone coming from college? That's a great question. So our admissions team will actually use your final grades. So the best way to get that question answered is to go directly to our admissions team, because your admission works slightly different than high school students. So just jot down that email address that Marissa popped in there earlier, admissions@trentu.ca, and they can explain to you exactly what they're using to calculate that admission average. For the Indigenous bursary, do I have to be native to bands around the campus area or across Canada? So I can't remember exactly what the OSAP application is. I'm sorry, not the OSAP application, the Indigenous Student Bursary application. It is only once a year, so I'm a little rusty on what the qualifications are. But what I would suggest is when the bursary application opens in the winter term, take a look at it and apply. Typically, you have to self-identify. So I don't think it's around campus. I think it's provincially and nationwide, but just double check that when that bursary application opens up. When are fees due for first-year students and how are they paid? Our student accounts office has a lot of information posted on their webpage. So that trentu.ca/student finances is a shared page with us and our student accounts office. You will have a tuition deposit that will be due in June. So June of 2024. If you are not receiving OSAP, your first fall payment is due the middle of August. If you are receiving OSAP for the fall term, then you have a much later deadline into September to ensure that your fall fees are paid. You can also look at chatting with the campus card office in regards to a payment plan. If you're expecting OSAP, you should have that OSAP application done by the end of July to ensure that your fees or your funding, can be released so that it's meeting that student accounts deadline later in September for first year or any year students who are using OSAP funding. But you'll get all of that information as billing gets closer to your year. So you'll get emails in regards to your fees. Next question is, if I am accepted at Trent and given an entrance scholarship, and then defer my acceptance for one academic year, will I still be given the entrance scholarship? Yes, provided that you don't attend another institution. So if you were offered a scholarship for the September 2024 start, but you opt to take a year and defer it until September of 2025, that's okay. As long as you didn't attend another institution, you would just have to identify yourself when you return to studies for September of 2025. And that's typically just an email to our scholarship office to let them know that you're coming to to school for the September 25 year and were offered a scholarship in September of 24. Are there any scholarships for graduate school students? Yes, but as I mentioned, our graduate office handles their own scholarship program, and I can see that Marissa has put that information in there. So definitely touch base with the grad studies office. Do all these exceptions also apply to a master's student? Yes. So ignore the because I administer for domestic undergraduate students for scholarships and bursaries. Definitely chat with the graduate studies office. They will have information about opportunities specifically for students in the graduate programs. I will finish high school with eight grade 12 courses for entrance scholarships if I get into my program and it requires biology, but I got a low mark. Will the scholarship committee consider a higher mark? So they're going to use your top 6 for U4M. So if you took 8, they're only going to look at your top 6. So if you're unsure about that, you can definitely chat with the admissions team. Go back up to that chat and you can see Marissa has put that in there, admissions@trentu.ca. But definitely reach out to them. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. Let me just silence that. I thought it had it's my watch, actually. Sorry, but that's technology. Just definitely reach out to our admissions team and understand how they're going to do that calculation for you. Once they get all those final grades, they'll be able to have that conversation. What does 1.5 credits per term mean? So here at Trent, we are based off of credits. So each course can be a half credit or a full credit. Half credit course would be for the 1 term. So 1.5 is typically 3 classes. So a full-time student would be in 2.5 credits, which would be 5 classes for that term. So 1.5 would be 3 classes, and that's a 60% course load. Are there non-needs-based scholarships for adults who have been out of school for a long time? So our scholarships aren't based on need. They're based on academic achievement. Our bursaries are what's needs-based. So maybe you're intertwining the words there. But our scholarships are based off of the admission average, not so much what your status is in regards to being an adult. If you've been out of school or you're coming from another post-secondary, you can read more about that at trentu.ca/student finances and just click on our scholarship tab and you can see the eligibility criteria there. But apply for everything. Our scholarships you'll be automatically considered for, but our bursaries, if you're unsure, just apply for everything. Let us tell you no, and at least you've applied, or let us tell you yes, and we give you a $500 bursary. What GPA requirements do I need for prestigious scholarships? The minimum is an 80%, just like all of our entrance scholarships. So you have to at least have an 80 to be considered by the committee. Don't sell yourself short. Make sure you apply. Put everything that you can about yourself into that prestigious scholarship application, and then it will be sent off to the committee for consideration. Next question. If I have already received my acceptance to Trent, am I able to start my bursary scholarship applications? Yes, coming up very soon. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped. Oh no, I answered that one. Yes. So if you've already accepted your offer, that's awesome. Welcome to Trent. Your first opportunity will be the prestigious scholarship application that will open in January. So you'll see that open. You can apply for that. Anything entrance related will not pop up until June. Okay. So don't stress because all of our bursary applications during the winter term and the summer term are more specific for the students that are currently studying. The entrance bursary for new students starting in September, that will open in June. We answered that. We answered that one. How can I apply to Trent? Well, that's a Marissa question. So she can probably answer that way better than I can. So Marissa's up.
Thank you for your interest. I love to hear it. If you're a domestic student who is in high school currently, then you would apply at UAC. So OUAC is where you apply. However, if you are an international student or a transfer student, then I invite you to head on over. I put international already in our chat over on the side, as well as for a transfer student, I can put that information in the chat as well.
And I think that's all of our questions. So if anybody has any other questions, please do pop them in there. We have 5 more minutes. Let's see. Yeah, and I answered that interest one. So yeah, we've touched on everything. I'm so happy to see all of those questions. That's awesome. I've done these in the past and there's been crickets and I'm like, was I just really that good that you took everything or you're just a little too shy to ask the question? So I love that you guys are asking the questions and engaged in the presentation.
While we wait for any final questions, because we still do have 5 minutes, so if anyone is curious about any financial questions, please feel free to use the chat. I will also throw in where you can just send general questions about life at Trent, the same idea with programs, scholarships, and if they get bigger, we can direct you at our Discover Trent at trentu.ca, and I will pop that into the chat as well. Keeping in mind as well that UAC applications, the deadline is January 15th, so it is nice and close. We are doing in-person tours that you can book as well through that Discover page as well. And I would also love to thank Danielle. She did a phenomenal job. Lots of information in that presentation. I learned some things, which is always fantastic. And thank you, everyone, for being here and really giving phenomenal questions. You did amazing. Those questions were so in depth, and we're here for you at the end of the day. So anytime, we are here. We are here to hear it. I see a couple of other questions, so I will send it back over to Danielle as I put some links into the chat as well.
So they're actually really easy questions that have already been answered. One is a thank you. So that one's easy. Steph, you are very welcome. Thank you for attending. The other one is an international student asking about scholarships and financial aid. So I know that you have popped that information in there as well in regards to international students. They do their own scholarships and bursaries, so you would need to speak directly to them. One of the email addresses is international scholarships with an S at trentu.ca. One of the other ones said one of your links is broken for your live stream. So they're just asking for a new link.
Perfect. I will throw that in. Give me 1 second. Yeah.
So pretty much the takeaway from this, apply for everything. That is what I say. Apply to everything. Don't assume that it's a no. Just make sure that you complete an application. Do the OSAP. You don't have to take it. Let it run its assessment. See what it looks like. If you want to take it, do the documentation at the end, and that will get everything processed for you. But you can do it and see what the assessment looks like. Apply for the prestigious, apply for the entrance bursary, apply for everything. Check the requirements. If you're meeting them, apply for them, because there are some things that we do post that we only get 2 or 3 applications, especially that City of Peterborough award. I hear it a lot where a student will say, oh, I didn't think I would get it because so-and-so has a higher average and they're coming to Trent. Well, so-and-so didn't apply. So that's why we say, apply for everything. And that City of Peterborough award is $2,000. That's awesome. $2,000 off your tuition rate at the start. It's great. Well, if nobody has any more questions for me, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you to Marissa for hosting. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I know Marissa will have some final remarks for you, but thank you very much. I hope that everybody took a little something from this. If you have questions, definitely reach out to us, financialaid@trentu.ca.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Danielle. And Again, I'm going to thank all of you. You were so fantastic. I added the extra link for, I think there's already one live stream from 2 days ago that was filmed. So that one is up there. So if you would like, that is that link right there. And I will give it a couple of seconds. So if you want to copy down any of the links that I've posted, there's lots of information on that chat. Put it in a doc, hold it for later for any information. And again, just as a reminder that we do have our tours open. So if you would like to take a tour, Trent U Discovery is where you can find that, as well as our applications for UAC. January, very, very close. And other than that, thank you, everyone.